A steak can be pink in the middle and still be okay. A burger can't, even if it's the exact same cut of beef. That difference isn't about taste or preference, it's about what actually happens to the meat once it's ground. And it matters, because most of us want to make a really good burger at home, not just order one out. So let's look at 3 things that separate a delicious, juicy, and safe burger from one that isn't. Let's get into it. Mistake 1. Safety. Let's start with the one most people never think about, because it isn't really about taste at all. It's about why a burger and a steak, even though they're both beef, need to be treated completely differently when it comes to cooking them safely. Here's the thing, when you buy a steak, it's one solid piece of muscle. With a truly intact steak, any harmful bacteria are most likely to be on the outside surface. It got there during handling, not from inside the animal. So when you sear that steak, you're heating the outside far more than the inside, and that outside heat is what takes care of whatever's sitting on the surface. That's why an intact steak can stay pink and juicy in the middle while the exterior is thoroughly cooked. And one quick detail worth knowing. This applies to a truly intact steak. If a steak has been blade tenderized, injected, or otherwise processed, that surface-to-center rule may no longer apply. So it's worth checking the label and cooking it as directed. Now, ground beef is a different story. When beef gets ground up, the outside surfaces of many different pieces of meat get mixed together and mixed right through the whole batch. So that surface bacteria, things like harmful E. coli or salmonella, doesn't stay on the surface anymore. It ends up distributed throughout the meat, including right in the center of your burger patty. And that means the center isn't just where you want the best flavor, it's where the meat actually needs to reach a safe temperature. A nice brown crust on the outside doesn't tell you anything about what's happening inside. This is why food safety guidelines treat ground beef and whole steaks differently. For an intact steak, the recommended safe minimum is an internal temperature of 145 degrees Fahrenheit, or 63 degrees Celsius, followed by a 3-minute rest. Ground beef needs to go further to around 160 degrees Fahrenheit, 71 degrees Celsius, measured at the center. That's not overcooking. That's the actual safety line for this type of meat. And honestly, the easiest way to know you've hit it isn't by guessing based on color. It's by using a simple, instant read thermometer. It takes about 2 seconds, and it removes all the guesswork. So next time someone tells you a medium rare burger is just like a medium rare steak, you'll know why that's not quite right. Same animal, same cut of beef in some cases, but a completely different safety situation once it's been through the grinder. This channel is not here to hand you a list of recipes to follow blindly. My goal is to help you understand how your food actually behaves so you can walk into any kitchen and cook with confidence instead of just following instructions and hoping for the best. If that sounds like your kind of channel, sticking around and subscribing helps a lot, and it's genuinely appreciated. All right, mistake number 2. This one's about texture, and it comes down to when you salt your ground beef, not just how much. Here's what actually happens. When salt hits raw ground beef and gets mixed in, it starts dissolving into the moisture in the meat. That salty liquid helps release some of the meat's natural proteins and makes them sticky. The longer that salted meat sits and the more you mix or knead it, the more of that sticky protein builds up. When you finally cook the patty, that sticky protein sets almost like a glue holding everything together tightly. Now, that's actually a great thing if you're making sausage or meatballs, where you want everything bound together nice and tight. But for a burger, most of us want the opposite. We want a burger that's loose, tender, and falls apart a little when you bite into it, not something dense, springy, and bouncing back like a hot dog. So here's the simple fix. Don't mix salt into your ground beef ahead of time, and try not to overwork the meat while you're shaping your patties. Handle it gently, form it loosely, and season the outside right before it hits the pan or the grill. That one change can make a big difference between a burger that stays loose and tender and one that turns dense and springy. And finally, mistake number 3, the one almost everyone's guilty of at some point. Pressing down on the burger while it's cooking. You've probably seen it, maybe even done it yourself. That satisfying sizzle when you press a spatula down on a burger on the grill. It looks great. It sounds even better, but that sizzle is actually the sound of your burger losing exactly what you want to keep inside it, both the juices and the melted fat. As a burger cooks, it naturally loses some water and some fat. That's normal. That happens no matter what you do. But when you press down on it, especially more than once, you're mechanically squeezing that liquid and fat straight out of the meat and onto the hot surface. You may flatten it a little, but you're not making the burger meaningfully better. No, mostly you're squeezing out liquid and fat that would have helped it stay juicy. Now here's where it gets a little more interesting, because there is one exception. If you've ever seen or tried a smash burger, you'll know it involves pressing the meat and pressing it firmly. The difference is timing. With a smash burger, you press once, immediately, while the meat is still loose and hasn't started to firm up yet. That single early press creates a wide, thin patty with a lot of surface contact, which gives you that deep, well-browned crust everyone loves. After that one press, you leave it alone. And because it's still ground beef, make sure the center reaches a safe temperature before you serve it. The problem isn't pressing itself. The problem is repeated pressing, or pressing a thick patty that's already partway cooked and full of liquid that's ready to escape. One more thing worth knowing here. You'll often hear that searing a burger seals in the juices. That's not really accurate. A seared crust changes the flavor and the texture on the outside, but it doesn't create some kind of waterproof seal. Moisture and fat can still make their way out during cooking, seared crust or not. As for fat content, a common choice like 80% lean, 20% fat gives you a good, juicy result, and that's a solid go-to. But don't think of it as some kind of magic number that prevents shrinkage. More fat generally means a richer bite, but it also means there's more fat available to render out during cooking. It's a good starting point for flavor and juiciness, not a guarantee against losing volume. Put those 3 things together, cook it to a safe temperature, salt it gently and late, and leave it alone once it's on the heat, and you've solved the 3 biggest reasons burgers turn out dry, dense, or just underwhelming. A quick thank you before we wrap up. A lot of you leave comments sharing your own kitchen habits and mistakes you've caught yourselves making, and honestly, some of those comments taught me things too. If you got a burger habit of your own, good or bad, drop it in the comments. I read all of them, and it genuinely shapes what we cover next. That's it for this one. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.